Hi, ever wonder what it's like to face a 350-pound lineman who wants to smash you into the ground? I know what that feels like. Scott Mitchell here, and I want to tell you about my podcast, Helmets Off, where I talk about the pressures of being an NFL quarterback and some of the other pressures pro athletes face when the helmet is off. It's a podcast, and you can get it free on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and at KSLSports.com.
Hi, Michelle Barber here, aka Style Queenie, and today I want to talk a little bit about what it means to me to be a strong woman. So I know when I was younger, I thought that being strong meant that you were, it was, like the muscle men, you had to just be, you could do everything yourself. Well, I don't think that that's the case anymore. And I kind of wanted to pay a little bit of tribute today to some of the strong women that I've had in my life. In fact, my grandmother is probably one of the strongest women that I know. She was very determined, very feisty, very sassy, but also very kind. And so that's kind of what I wanted to cover today. So if I were to say the word fierce to you, what would that bring to mind? Well, I think when we think about somebody being fierce, it reminds me of like animals in the wild. How the lioness is the one who goes out and hunts, and she is the one who gets the stuff done. She is the one who is there for the cubs and then also for the lion. So when I think of fierce, I think of those women that are undeterred in their determination to achieve their goals. Unshakable even. And so I've always considered this when I've been thinking about things that I want to do and thinking about, am I that fierce person? Do I really want to achieve my goals? And so when I think about all of this, it makes me realize that, yes, we are going to have challenges. We are going to have things that come up for us. But if we are that strong inside and we know what we really want, it's going to help us be able to get there. And so a few years ago, I started a new job. And when I started the job, I was working in a company. It wasn't huge. But after a few months, somebody came to me and they said, how are you getting along with this person? And they only ever asked me about one person. And I wondered why. And then I realized it was because that person was a woman, very strong woman, very outspoken, very confident, very sure of herself. And they were worried because I was a very similar personality that I was not going to get along with this person. Well, it turns out that I actually got along with her famously. In fact, those are the kind of women that I'm attracted to, the ones that are strong, the ones that are confident, the ones that feel good about themselves, because I feel like we are attracted to how we are ourselves. And so what I wanted to talk a little bit about today is how we can use the experiences that we've had to kind of shape who we are. There's no shortcut. There's no way that you can get to where you are without actually going through sometimes not the best experiences. So how do you take those experiences and use them to your advantage? Well, there are lots of things that I've been afraid of in my life. When I first went river rafting with my husband, the very first time that I went, he decided, it wasn't just him, but we went with my father-in-law, and we decided that we were going to do this river that was, I think it had some class 5 rapids, and anybody that knows anything about river rafting knows that this is 5 in Utah and Idaho is like the highest rating. It also had some that we had to portage, and what that means is we had to take our boat out of the water because the rapids were too intense that you actually couldn't float down them. So here's a picture of me rafting a few years later. The first time that we went, we actually got stuck on a rock in the middle of this rapid that was filled with all these other rocks. And if we would have come out of our boat, our legs would have been torn up and everything. And so this was my very first experience. So what it did is it made me realize, okay, if I can get through this, I can get through pretty much anything. So I realize that my experiences, the things that I have happen to me, are going to really, really help me in the future. It's actually preparing me for what's to come. And then the next thing is, I want to talk about how it's okay to let somebody support you. I talked a little bit at the beginning about how I used to think that in order to be a strong woman, you had to do everything yourself. You had to be that one that just handled everything. When I first moved here, I was a single mom, and I've talked a little bit about that before. And I lived with my cousin Tracy for the first year when I moved here. It was really hard for me to lean on somebody and allow somebody to kind of really help me, because that meant that I was being vulnerable. So allowing somebody to support you is a huge part of being a strong woman. The next thing is, I have a life that is filled with testosterone. I have 4 boys. I was raised with 2 brothers, never had any sisters. And so my life has been filled with just craziness, rambunctiousness, all of this kind of thing. And so really for me, it has been important for me to remember who I am and still pursue my dreams, even when I'm handling the things that you have to when you're a mom, especially all of the sports and all of the things that we have going on in our life, because I get to have my own life too, and I get to be that woman. I get to be that strong woman and that confident woman. Now, as I said, I do not have any sisters. So to me, my friends are the sisters that destiny forgot to give us. I love my friendships. I think they're so important. And anybody that knows me knows when I'm your friend, if I have your back, you know you're good, because I am fiercely loyal. It's a huge thing for me. For me, in order to have a friend, I have to be that friend. And so I love my friendships. They're very important to me. So as we think about all of these things, and we think about what it means to be a fierce woman and be a strong woman, I think it's important to recognize that it's okay to be vulnerable, okay to let down our guard a little bit, and more importantly, it's okay to let somebody help us. I really had a hard time with that. I have a hard time still sometimes asking for help, because I know I can do a lot of things myself, but I also know that I only have a certain amount of time, resources. And here's the thing too, because I am a friend to other people, I love to help them. So I know the same goes the other way, and I know people want to be there to support. So being that strong woman also means allowing people in and letting them support you. So being strong doesn't mean you have to do it all. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. And just so that you know, there's nothing wrong with being strong. Being strong in a soft, vulnerable way is actually probably one of the most powerful things any woman can do, or any person. So I want to remind you, if you haven't checked out my blog, you can go to stylequeenie.com, see some of my other topics, see some of the things I've talked about, see some of my style tips. And of course, since we're talking about being a strong woman, I had to wear my red pants today because that's my fierce color. Check out my Facebook, Style Queenie, and then Instagram. And then don't forget, go check out the other podcasts. See some of the topics we've talked about. You can download them on the FM100 app or fm100.com, or actually anywhere that you can get your podcasts. So don't forget to do all of this. Find some of the other things that we've been talking about. And if we haven't covered something and you want to hear it, let me know. I'd love to know. So until next time, cheerio.